I was 4 years younger than Elena, and she spent 6 years chasing me before we finally walked down the aisle. She used to cherish me, promising I was the only man she'd ever love. But then, I heard the way she talked about me when she thought I wasn't listening. I don't even look at men over 25. I heard her tell her friends over drinks. I don't care how handsome Caleb is. Staring at the same face every single day just gets exhausting. Honestly, I can't even get in the mood when I see him now. He's just so dull, so predictable. It's the younger guys out there that actually give me a rush. They're fresh. They're exciting. Elena Harper. One betrayal, and you're out for life. I wasn't about to waste the rest of my years on a 7-year relationship that had clearly rotted from the inside. Elena didn't stumble home until 2 in the morning. She stood by the bed, watching me for a long moment. She let out a heavy sigh before turning around and heading back out. I wasn't actually asleep. I got up and walked toward the living room. Through the crack in the door, I could hear her whispering into her phone, complaining to a friend. Thank God he was out cold. I was terrified he'd want to, do his husbandly duties. I can barely stand the thought of being in that bedroom right now. So what if he's a 10? You stare at a masterpiece long enough, and it just becomes wallpaper. I've lost all interest. The boy toy I'm seeing now, he's incredible. He calls me gorgeous. He treats me like a queen. It's a total rush. If I hadn't heard the words with my own ears, I never would have believed such cruelty could come from Elena, the woman who used to have eyes only for me. We hadn't shared a bed in 2 months. Elena had been swamped lately, working late almost every night, occasionally heading out of town for business trips. She claimed she didn't want to wake me, so she'd just crash in the home office. I'd been a fool. I thought she was being considerate, looking out for my sleep. I never imagined she was actually repulsed by me. While she was in the shower, I picked up her phone. Her passcode was still my birthday. That was the one thing that hadn't changed in years. At the very top of her messages was a contact with a cartoon puppy icon. The thread was suspiciously clean, except for one message sent a few minutes ago. I love you too. For simple words that made my hands shake uncontrollably. So this was her fresh and exciting distraction. I clicked through to his Instagram profile. His cover photo was a blurred, intimate shot of him and Elena, their faces pressed together. Even with half her face obscured, I recognized her instantly. The kid had dyed blue hair and a smile that made his eyes crinkle. Vibrant, full of life, and undeniably young. His feed was a highlight reel of a life I wasn't part of. The latest post was from 10:0 p.m. tonight. A photo of 2 hands, fingers tightly interlaced against stark white bed sheets. The implication was nauseating. But what hurt more was the ring on the woman's finger, the very diamond I had slipped onto Elena's hand on our wedding day. I forced myself to keep scrolling through his posts, my heart hardening with every swipe. May 20th. He'd posted a photo of a luxury watch and a screenshot of a Venmo notification, $4.5, 200. The caption read, "Going to make sure she can't walk tomorrow." I remember that day. I'd booked a private candlelit dinner to celebrate our anniversary, but Elena had called at the last minute, claiming she had an emergency trip to Portland. The feed was an endless stream of their secret romance. Finally, my eyes landed on a post from April 1st. It was a close-up of his neck, a fresh hickey visible just above his collar. She's finally mine. I did the math. April 1st was exactly when Elena had stopped letting me touch her. I pulled out my own phone and took photos of every Venmo transfer and every incriminating message. Then, I put her phone back exactly where I found it and went back to the bedroom. The next morning, I woke up to Elena kissing my cheek. Remembering what she'd said the night before, a wave of revulsion washed over me, and I pushed her away. She didn't seem to notice the shift in my energy. "Morning, babe. Breakfast is on the table. All your favorites," Elena said, giving me another quick peck. "I've got a mountain of work at the office, so I've got to run." Her voice was as sweet and gentle as it had always been. After she left, I stared at the steaming coffee and the eggs on the table, and my mind drifted back 7 years. I first met Elena during my freshman orientation. A group of students had bumped into me in the hall, knocking my suitcase open and scattering my life across the floor. She was the one who stopped to help me pack it all back in, then walked me all the way to my dorm. I thought it was just a random act of kindness, but for the next 3 months, I kept bumping into her all over campus. She'd always give me a playful smirk and call me freshman. Once, during gym class, I passed out from stomach cramp because I'd skipped breakfast. Elena was the one who stayed with me in the infirmary, looking after me. From then on, she showed up at my dorm every single morning with breakfast. My roommates were jealous. "Man, she's gorgeous, and she treats you like a king. Why haven't you asked her out yet?" I just shake my head. It wasn't that she was older, It was that I didn't feel like I had my life together enough to protect and provide for someone like her. After she graduated and got a high-paying corporate job, she still came back to visit me. She bought me clothes, shoes, everything I couldn't afford. On weekends, she'd invite me to her apartment and cook for me. Whenever I'd hang my head, telling her I wasn't in her league, she'd just smile. "Don't put that pressure on yourself, Caleb," she'd say. "I just want to take care of you." 6 years of that devotion. Eventually, I fell hard. Elena used to say she wanted to make me breakfast for the rest of her life. Look at her now. So thoughtful. So gentle. Her heart was miles away, but she still remembered to play the part of the doting wife. If it weren't for the photos on that kid's Instagram and the records of the money she'd sent him, I might have convinced myself last night was just a fever dream. That evening, for the first time in weeks, Elena actually made it home for dinner. She looked at the empty fridge, blinked in surprise, then smiled. "Let's go out tonight. I know this new sushi place that's trending on." I shook my head, cutting her off. "I already ate." She noticed the empty instant ramen bowl on the coffee table. She put on a look of playful disapproval. "Babe, you know that junk is terrible for your stomach. You want to end up in the ER again." I developed chronic gastritis back in college from skipping meals, and I did plenty of late-night hospital runs because of it. I gave her a hollow smile. "Doesn't really matter, does it?" Elena climbed into my lap. She was beautiful, 29, but she looked exactly like she did in college, as if time hadn't dared to touch her face. "Stop that," she pouted. "You're my husband. Even if your health fails, I'm never leaving your side. Through thick and thin, remember?" She leaned in, her breath warm against my skin. I could feel her wanting more, but I shifted my weight and moved away before her lips could touch mine. "I'm exhausted," I said flatly. "I'm not in the mood." Elena froze. It was clear she was annoyed, but she bit her tongue, struggling to keep her temper in check. While I was in the kitchen doing the dishes, her phone buzzed. She grabbed her purse from the sofa. "Something came up at the office. I have to go in. Don't wait up." I finished my shower and crawled into bed. My phone rang, a local number I didn't recognize. When I answered, there was nothing but silence on the other end. I was about to hang up, thinking it was a prank, when I heard Elena's laugh through the speaker. "Only been a day, and you already miss me that much?" she teased. Then came a boyish, raspy voice. "It kills me that you have to go back to that boring husband of yours." The sound of a heavy, wet kiss followed. Elena's breathing hitched. "Don't mention him right now. Not tonight. Tonight, you're all mine, Elena." The rest of their conversation was enough to make my blood run cold. Luckily, the moment I'd heard her voice, I'd hit the record button. Later, I searched the phone number on social media. As expected, it belonged to the kid from the Instagram, Jace Miller. I sent a friend request. He accepted almost instantly. He knew exactly who I was. This wasn't a mistake. It was a victory lap. The next morning at the office, a delivery guy brought a high-end, healthy breakfast to my desk. Then Elena called. "Hey babe, got called out of town on a last-minute trip. I won't be back for a few days. I ordered that gourmet porridge you like. Eat it while it's hot, okay?" "Sure," I said. I hung up and checked my feed. Sure enough, Jace had posted a photo of a massive breakfast spread. The caption, "The person who makes you breakfast is the person who truly loves you." I used to believe Elena was that person. A coworker walked by, eyeing the food on my desk with envy. "Man, Caleb, where do you find a wife that thoughtful?" She's a keeper. To the outside world, I was the luckiest guy alive. Elena was gorgeous, successful, and seemingly devoted. But I wasn't exactly a slouch either. I'd been the golden boy in college, top of my class. Since graduation, I'd worked my way up to a senior role at one of the biggest tech firms in the city. I saw my coworker practically drooling over the meal. "Haven't had breakfast? Take it. It's yours." He looked stunned. "Wait, your wife sent this." "You sure?" I smiled. "Take it. I've already had plenty." I didn't need her performative love. I followed their business trip through Jace's frequent updates. Elena took him to an amusement park. They rode roller coasters, the drop tower, all the adrenaline-heavy rides. She even helped him sign a lease on an apartment near the university. I remembered when we first started dating. I tried to get her to go to a theme park with me. She'd refused point blank, claiming she was terrified of heights and would never, ever go on a roller coaster. Now, she was breaking every rule for her boy toy. I didn't feel rage. I didn't even feel sad. I just kept filing away every piece of evidence. Elena finally messaged me on the third night. "Babe, I found this incredible sushi spot. We have to come here together when I'm back." It was almost funny. She just finished dinner with her lover, and her first thought was to use the recommendation on me. Was I supposed to be touched? I didn't call her out. Instead, I played the confused husband. "You're back in Seattle?" There was a pause. Then her voice came through, sounding slightly strained. "Not yet. A colleague recommended it, and I just thought of you. When are you coming home? Her voice softened, sounding almost emotional. Do you miss me, Caleb? I'm coming home tonight. Okay, I said, neither confirming nor denying. The truth was, while Elena was on her trip, I'd already moved out. My company provided corporate housing for senior staff, so I wasn't exactly homeless. When Elena got home, expecting a warm welcome, and found the house empty, she was livid. Caleb, it's late. Where the hell are you? Oh, I'm out of town for work. I could practically hear her grinding her teeth. Why didn't you tell me this morning? Right, because if I had, she probably would have stayed an extra few days with Jace. The assignment didn't come through until this afternoon. I lied. She took a breath, her voice smoothing out. Can you be back by tomorrow night? Why? It's Linda's birthday. She invited us to celebrate at that lounge downtown. Tell Linda I can't make it, I said coolly. Fine. Elena's tone was unreadable. Let me know when you're heading back. I'll pick you up from the airport. Sure. That night, Jay sent me a selfie. In the photo, he was wearing my silk bathrobe. The background was my own bedroom. Nausea rolled through me, but I forced myself to focus. I pulled out the divorce papers I drafted and gave them one final review. The following night, Jay sent another photo. It was a group shot of Linda's birthday party. Elena had actually taken him. Then came a text. Big brother, you've got a lot of patience. I'll give you that. I felt a cold smirk touch my lips. I grabbed my jacket and headed out. Elena, I can't wait to see the look on your face. I arrived at the lounge. As I stepped off the elevator, a young guy slammed into me. Losing his footing, I instinctively reached out to steady him. He looked up and beamed at me, his eyes crinkling into those familiar crescents. Small world. It was Jace. He studied me for a second. Hey man, you here to pick up girls? I don't post selfies on social media, and my profile picture is a landscape. He had no idea who I was. I'm here with my girlfriend, he chatted away, seemingly a social butterfly. Is your girl inside too? I shook my head. I'm alone. He winked at me. The girls in this place are top tier. A guy as handsome as you'll have them lining up. I checked my watch. I hope you're right. His eyes dropped to my wrist, landing on a custom-made watch. His face lit up. Whoa, that's a sick watch. Where'd you get it? I better get my girl to buy me one. He was young, energetic, and full of that golden retriever energy. I could see why Elena was addicted. I unbuckled the strap and handed it to him. It's yours. He looked like I'd just handed him a winning lottery ticket. Wait, seriously? Man, you're too kind. Don't mention it. I'm bored of it. Without a second thought, he took off his own watch and slid mine on. It was an expensive piece. Elena had spent her first big bonus to have it custom-made for me. I'd worn it every day for 5 years. I used to treat it like a holy relic. Now, as I watched it sit on his wrist, I realized how easy it was to let go of things that no longer mattered. Jace was too busy admiring his new toy to notice me leaving. I walked toward the private VIP suite where they were gathered. I stopped outside the door, catching a conversation inside. Elena, seriously, having a fling is one thing, Linda was saying, her voice laced with concern. But bringing him here? You're playing with fire. Elena sounded dismissive, almost bored. He begged to come. What was I supposed to do? You're spoiling him. What happens if Caleb finds out? There was a pause. Then Elena let out a sharp, mocking laugh. They say men only like 18-year-old girls, but honestly, I only have a taste for 18-year-old boys now. They've actually got a pulse. I don't even look at men over 25 anymore. Having a boy toy is just so much more exhilarating. I've been bored of Caleb for a long time. My fingers twitched. I remembered Elena buried in my arms, promising me, with total sincerity, Caleb, I worked so hard to get you to notice me. I promise I'll only ever love you. It's only ever been you. At that moment, Jace walked back in, looking triumphant. Hey, look at this. You won't believe it. He shoved his wrist in Elena's face. Elena's sugary smile vanished instantly. She froze, staring at the watch. She looked up in a panic, her eyes locking onto mine as I leaned against the doorframe. In one swift motion, she shoved Jace away from her. Jace, get out. Now. So, the puppy had a name. The room went dead silent. Linda and the others exchanged awkward glances. Linda was the first to try and play peacemaker. Caleb, hey. It's a misunderstanding. Let Elena explain. I just kept my eyes on Elena. She turned to Jace and hissed, I told you to leave. Jace was interesting. Now that he knew who I was, he didn't run. Instead, he stood his ground, moving closer to Elena. He looked at me with a smirk that was both defiant and smug. I'd underestimated him. Our chance encounter at the elevator probably wasn't a coincidence at all. No need to leave on my account, I said, tilting my head. Jace and I are practically old friends, aren't we? Jace immediately looked at Elena. putting on a face of wounded innocence. Elena recovered her composure quickly. Caleb, whatever you have to say it to me. Jace is just a student. Don't take this out on him. I almost laughed. She was actually protecting him. I'm not here to argue, I said, reaching into my jacket. I just need your signature. I held out the divorce papers. Her hand shook as she took them, but she tried to keep her face a mask of cold indifference. Linda jumped in, panicked. Caleb, don't be impulsive. Elena's just had too much to drink. They've been together for 2 months, Linda, I said quietly. Linda went silent. There was no spinning that. Elena looked at me, her voice raspy. You've known? All this time, you just sat there and acted like everything was fine. Did she expect me to beg? To scream? To fall to my knees and ask her to come back? So, she said, her lips curling into a bitter line, the business trip was a lie. You were just setting me up. Linda grabbed Elena's arm, trying to get her to shut up, but I wasn't done. Elena, you're the one who broke the contract. You don't get to act like the victim here. Elena gritted her teeth. Without even looking at the terms, she flipped to the last page and scrawled her name. Then she grabbed Jace's hand. Fina, let's go. Linda tried to stop her, but I shook my head. I knew Elena. She was proud, arrogant, and hated losing face, especially in front of her social circle. That's why I chose tonight. She'd sign anything just to end the scene and keep her dignity intact. It had gone smoother than I'd expected. No screaming matches, no begging. Just a signature. Over the next 2 days, Jace kept sending me photos of him and Elena. I ignored them. I kept them on my contact list for one reason. Even though she'd signed, the papers hadn't been filed yet. I needed every bit of evidence I could get. That Friday night, Jace sent a photo of them at a bar. I figured since Elena was out, it was the perfect time to grab the rest of my things from the house. But when I opened the front door, I found Elena sitting in the dark living room, looking hollowed out. I thought she was supposed to be out partying with Jace. Since we were already in the same room, there was no point in avoiding her. I'm just here for my stuff, I said. She looked at me, her voice dry. Is the divorce really necessary? I looked at her, genuinely curious. You already signed the papers, Elena. I finished packing and headed for the door. She called out to me. I ended it with him. And, can we not do this? Elena stepped toward me and pressed something cold into my hand. I opened my palm. It was the watch. She'd taken it back from Jace. Caleb, please, forgive me. Just this once. Her voice was desperate, and for a second, she looked like she was truly suffering. But it didn't move me. Elena, I said softly, I told you. One betrayal, and you're out. Set a date. Let's finish this at the courthouse. I dropped the watch into the trash can by the front door and walked out without looking back. I didn't expect Jace to hunt me down. On Friday, as I was leaving the office, he jumped out in front of me in the parking lot. He looked indignant, like he was the one who'd been wronged. Man, just let us be together. Let her go. I was baffled. I already did. She's the one who wants to be with me. Why are you still clinging to her? I actually laughed out loud. Me clinging to Elena? It sounded like she'd dumped him and he was getting desperate. He was probably the one doing all the clinging now. He didn't care that people were staring. He just kept shouting. Look, you're a good-looking guy. You've got a great job. Why are you trying to steal a girl from a college kid? Don't you have any shame? This was Rich. A kept man, boy toy, was trying to lecture me on shame. He was trying to flip the script and make me look like the villain in front of my coworkers. Jace, I said calmly, do your professors and your classmates know you're a professional sugar baby? His face went white. You're a good actor, though. I guess that theater major is paying off. He looked like he wanted to vanish into the pavement. He turned and bolted. That night, Elena called, her voice shaking with rage. I admitted I messed up, Caleb, and I broke up with Jace. Why would you go after him like that? I have no idea what you're talking about, I said, enjoying this. You threatened him. You said you'd tell his school about us. He's just a kid, Caleb. You're going to ruin his life. I apologize to you. He has nothing to do with this. Can't you just leave him alone? No, I said. Jace was smart in some ways, but incredibly stupid in others. He posted everything on Instagram. I'd seen his location tags at his university, and, with his name, it had taken me 5 minutes to find out everything I needed to know. The next day, I filed a lawsuit against Jace Miller. The Venmo transfers and the chat logs were all the evidence I needed. Since Elena had been using marital assets to fund his lifestyle, I was legally entitled to claw back my half of that money. 2 days later, Elena came to see me again. She looked defeated. I'll go to the courthouse with you. Are you happy now? Fine, I said. Let's go today. The process was quick. Elena didn't fight me on the asset division. As we walked out of the building, her face was a mask of misery. You really went to extremes just to force my hand, didn't you? I stopped and looked at her. I realized then that she wasn't nearly as smart as she thought she was. Did Jace tell you I sued him because you wouldn't sign the papers? Didn't you? I sighed. I just followed through on what he accused me of. Why did you believe him? Her expression shifted. What do you mean? I figured there was no point in holding back anymore. I forwarded her every single taunting text and photo Jace had sent me over the last month. I even sent her the recording of their phone call. Tell Jace thanks for me, I said with a smile. He provided all the evidence I needed to get a better settlement in the divorce. I'll see you in a month to finalize the decree. I got into my car and drove away. I didn't drop the lawsuit against Jace. He needed to face the consequences. I would have let it go if he'd just walked away, but he kept poking the bear. I'm not a turn-the-other-cheek kind of guy. Jace eventually paid the money back. Whether he scrounged it up himself or got it from someone else, I didn't care. Elena tried to contact me dozens of times after that. It was always a confession, a plea for mercy. She said she'd just been looking for a thrill. She said her heart had always belonged to me. She claimed she didn't know Jace had been harassing me. She said she'd been fooled by his innocent act. The fact remains that you cheated, I told her. Trying to blame him now just makes you look pathetic. A week later, my department went out for drinks. I'd had a few, so my new intern, Maya Reed, offered to drive me home. As I got out of the car and thanked her, Elena was there, waiting in the shadows of my apartment building. She didn't even wait for Maya to leave before she started accusing me. Is this why you were so desperate to leave me? For her, Maya was new to the company. She didn't know I was getting a divorce. She stepped in front of me, thinking Elena was some crazy stalker. Mr. Vance, you really need to be careful. Some people don't know how to take no for an answer. I couldn't help but chuckle. Maya's fierce, naive energy reminded me a bit of how Elena used to be. Back when I first started my career, I was being bullied by some senior associates. They'd dump all their grunt work on me and force me to stay late. One night, I had a date with Elena, and I tried to push back. They threatened to have me fired. Elena had shown up at the office to surprise me and overheard everything. She'd recorded their threats on her phone and played them back at full volume. I happen to be very good friends with your CEO, she'd lied through her teeth. If I show him how you treat your juniors, you'll all be out of job by Monday. They backed down instantly. Afterward, Elena had linked her arm with mine, beaming. You're my man, Caleb. I got your back. It had been the sweetest moment of my life. You, Elena's voice, dripping with disdain, snapped me back to the present. Do you have any idea who I am to him? I sighed. Maya, it's okay. She's an old friend. Just a misunderstanding. You can head out. Maya looked worried. Are you sure? I'm sure. Thanks for the ride. Call me if you need anything. Okay. I nodded, and she drove off. Who is she? Elena's voice was trembling. I looked at her and smiled. She's an intern. Cute, right? She's 19. Elena went pale. How can you trust a girl like that? She's just going to play you. My smile widened. You mean, like you did? Elena was speechless. I mimicked the tone she'd used in the VIP lounge. I mean, who doesn't love a pretty 19-year-old? You're pushing 30, Elena. The math isn't in your favor. Elena clenched her fists. So, this is just revenge? You're doing this to hurt me. I shook my head. You're so full of yourself, Elena. You're the one who betrayed us. You're the one who cheated. Now you're desperate to paint me with the same brush so you don't have to feel so guilty. If believing that helps you sleep at night, go for it. I turned to go, and she panicked. Caleb, I believe in you. I've always believed in you. I used to believe in you too, I said coldly. There was a long silence before she spoke again, her voice thick with tears. I'm sorry. I failed you. But can't you just look at our 7 years together and give me one more chance? I've cut him off completely. I promise. He even swore he'd never bother you again. Can't we just pretend none of this happened? We were so good together. She was crying now, her eyes red and watery. I remember the day I proposed to her 2 years ago. She cried then, too. She told me she'd loved me since the moment we met. She told me she was insecure because she was older, worried I'd be stolen away by someone younger. She'd spent 6 years proving she wanted me. I think she really did regret it now. But she didn't realize that it wasn't just Jace that broke us. Elena, I said, taking a deep breath. I'm 25 now. She looked at me, waiting. You don't look at men over 25. You think I'm boring. You think my face is just wallpaper. I can't give you that rush or that excitement anymore. I'm just a guy with a pulse. The hope in her eyes died, replaced by a dull, gray hollow. When you used those words to describe me, Elena, did you have any idea how much that would hurt? You chased me. You promised me the world. I never forced you into this. I never asked for anything but the truth. And then you went behind my back and made me sound like garbage. You actually disgust me. I walked away, and this time she didn't follow. When the 1-month waiting period was up, I couldn't reach Elena to finalize the paperwork. Then Linda called. She said Elena had taken a handful of sleeping pills and was in the ER. I rushed to the hospital. Elena was lying in the bed, looking frail. She was murmuring my name in her sleep. Linda handed me an empty pill bottle. She said Elena had just had her stomach pumped and wasn't fully conscious yet. According to Linda, she'd gone to Elena's place to pick up some files and found the door unlocked. Elena was slumped on the sofa, unresponsive, with the bottle beside her. "Thank God I got there in time," Linda whispered. "She's really struggling, Caleb. She can't imagine a life without you." I thanked Linda and told her I'd take over. Once she left, I sat in the chair by the bed and started peeling an apple. When the apple was finished, Elena's eyes fluttered open. She saw me and her lower lip trembled. "Babe, you came," she whispered. I couldn't handle the thought of a future where you aren't there. Life doesn't mean anything without you." She sounded so sincere. There were tears in her eyes. I sliced a piece of the apple and held it to her lips. She looked touched, a small spark of hope returning to her face as she ate it. After she finished a second slice, I spoke quietly. "The doctors usually say you shouldn't eat for 24 hours after having your stomach pumped. Didn't they tell you that?" Elena froze. Her jaw stopped moving. "I checked with a friend who works here," I continued. "There were only 3 people who had their stomachs pumped this morning. All of them were men." I picked up the empty pill bottle from a nightstand. "And besides, didn't you personally swap the pills in this bottle for vitamin C months ago? Earlier this year, when I was stressed about my promotion, I'd been having trouble sleeping. A friend prescribed me some mild sedatives. Elena didn't like it. She said I'd get addicted. Later, I realized she'd secretly swapped them for vitamins. I hadn't said anything at the time because I knew she was just worried about me. But now, she was using that same bottle to stage a suicide attempt." I stood up to leave. Elena scrambled to sit up, grabbing my hand. "Caleb, please." I was desperate. I just didn't want to lose you. I messed up, I know. I'm proud, and I say stupid things when I'm trying to save face. It was just a moment of weakness. I only met Jace because he found my ID on campus. He wouldn't leave me alone, and he reminded me so much of you when we first met. Linda caught us, and I was so ashamed. I lied to her on the phone to make it sound like it was nothing, like I was the one in control. I didn't mean any of it. I listened to her until she ran out of breath. "Maybe you didn't," I said, gently but firmly prying her fingers off my arm. "But Elena, you have to take responsibility for the things you say and do. If I stayed with you, every time I looked at you, I'd see something tainted. I'd hear those words on a loop in my head. Every single day would be a reminder of what you did. I'd end up hating you. Is that what you want?" Elena went silent. "If you're feeling well enough, let's go finish the paperwork." This time, she didn't argue. She got out of bed, put on her shoes, and followed me. We didn't speak a word on the way to the courthouse. The final decree was signed and filed. It was over. As we stepped out into the Seattle rain, Elena finally spoke. "Can we still be friends?" "No," I said without hesitation. "You don't stay friends after something like this." Besides, Elena looked like she was about to shatter. "I've accepted a transfer. I'm moving to Chicago this weekend." "Goodbye, Elena." I was half a block away when I finally heard her break down. It was a raw, gut-wrenching sob. "Caleb, I'm so sorry," she wailed, as if she were pouring every last bit of herself into the apology. "I'll wait for you. I'll be right here." I didn't turn around. I just raised a hand and gave a small, final wave. My life was moving forward. I was heading toward a better future. Elena's perspective in the second year of our marriage, something shifted. Caleb was under immense pressure at work, pushing for a senior VP role. He was always busy, always distracted. When we were together, he seemed to be just going through the motions. I tried to be the understanding wife. I really did. But the loneliness started to gnaw at me. One weekend, I tried to surprise him. I bought tickets to a romance movie and booked a suite at a boutique hotel downtown, hoping we could finally reconnect. 2 minutes before the movie started, he called. Work emergency. He couldn't make it. He apologized, but I was done. I was so angry, so disappointed. I sat in that theater alone, feeling like a ghost. 10 minutes into the film, a college kid asked if the seat next to me was taken. He was wearing a white t-shirt and jeans. Classic, effortless. In the dim light of the theater, for a split second, I thought he looked exactly like Caleb did back in university. I let him sit there. What did it matter? The seat was empty anyway. After the movie, I found his student ID on the floor. His name was Jace Miller. Looking at the photo, he didn't actually look that much like Caleb, but he was undeniably handsome. I went to his campus a few days later to return it. I thought that would be the end of it, but he asked for my number. A few days later, Caleb was out of town again. I didn't feel like cooking for one, so when Jace called to ask me to dinner, I said yes. He took me to a street food market near the university. We ate tacos and greasy fries on a park bench. I used to love doing that, but Caleb's stomach issues meant we hadn't eaten like that in years. With Jace, I felt young again. He was vibrant, unfiltered, and he looked at me like I was the center of the universe. He'd offer me a bite of his food and wipe the sauce off my face. We started talking every day. He'd tell me about his classes, his friends. I told myself it was just a friendship, a way to kill the time while Caleb was working. Then Jace confessed he was in love with me. I knew I had to stop. I told him I was married and that it was impossible. I even blocked him. On April Fool's Day, he called from a different number. He was at a hotel, saying if I didn't come see him, he'd do something reckless. I could have called the cops. I could have sent a friend. But I went myself. Deep down, I knew it was a game. April Fool's? It was too perfect. I was just giving myself an excuse to see him. He wouldn't let me leave. He begged me to just care about him for one night. I lost control. Once it happened, it was like a dam broke. I hated myself for it. Every time I looked at Caleb, I felt like a monster. I tried to end it with Jace a dozen times, but he always knew exactly how to pull me back in. I was trapped in this cycle of guilt and adrenaline. Then Linda saw us together. I panicked. My pride wouldn't let me admit I was a cheater to my best friend. So I lashed out. I blamed Caleb. I said he was boring. I said I was over him. The second the words left my mouth, I wanted to swallow them. I made him breakfast the next morning, trying to convince myself I could go back to being the woman he loved. I decided that day to end it with Jace forever. I went home early to surprise him. I wanted to hold him, to tell him I was back. But he pushed me away. I was so hurt. I felt like I was trying so hard to come back, and he was just shutting me out. In a fit of spite, I left and went back to Jace. I spent a few days in a haze of bad decisions. But I missed Caleb. I went home, only to find him out of town. He'd never left without telling me before. I was so angry, so lonely. I brought Jace into our home. I brought him into our bed. In the dark, I tried to imagine he was Caleb. I told myself I'd end it before Caleb ever found out. But there's no such thing as a secret in this world. When Caleb walked into that lounge and looked at me, I knew. I knew I'd lost the only man who ever truly mattered. Story complete.